after the destruction of the Second Temple, the scholars of the time, they moved to a city called Yavne. And that's where they rebuilt the study of the Torah, and that's where actually they maintained it. It was actually a blessing. The city of Yavne was a blessing, which was the foresight of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. He was a rabbi that lived at the time of the destruction. He snuck out of Jerusalem to meet with the Roman general, and he basically told him, do me one favor. And he asked him for a few favors. One of the favors he asked him was to spare one city, Yavne. What's there? We're going to have a yeshiva there, study. We're going to study the Torah. Okay. And that's thanks to that foresight of keeping the Torah safe, it's thanks to that we have the Torah today. Otherwise it would have been forgotten with all the troubles that the Jews went through at that time, the destruction and millions of people being killed and massacred and destruction after destruction. The Torah would have been forgotten. But that foresight of having a place that's going to be dedicated to learning Torah, that's what kept the Torah alive. So they would learn in this Torah hall, study hall, in lines of rows of students. From far, many students sitting in rows looked like a vineyard. So they got a nickname, the Vineyard of Yavne. That was the name of the study hall. That was like a nickname for the study hall. So when they gathered over there, great rabbis, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Nehemiah, Rabbi Eliezer, the son of Rabbi Yosef Glili. So they all paschu kulam b'chved achsanya v'darshu. Many of them spoke about the honor that is meant to be given to scholars. Now, they were scholars themselves. They're not really talking only about themselves, but they're talking about this importance of giving honor to Torah. Torah is very important, as Torah is our life, and honor is necessary to give honor to the Torah. And they also spoke about the necessity of achsanya, of hosting the scholars, because scholars would come from abroad. They would come from city to city, and they needed a place to stay. So people in the city would host the scholars in their house and say, "Come, you can stay in my house for a few days, for a few weeks. You're here." And so they were encouraging this behavior. So Rabbi Yehuda was the Reish HaMedabrim B'chol Makom. He was the head of the speakers, spoke first. So he got up and said the following statement. It says, Moshe, this is a verse in Exodus. It says, Moshe, Yikach es ha'oil, he took his tent, and he pitched it, he set up his tent, Michutz lamachaneh, outside of the camp. This is talking about when the Jews were in the desert, and they sinned with the famous sin of the golden calf, Chet ha'egel. And God, so to speak, was angry and upset at the Jewish people. And God told Moses, I'm upset at the Jewish people. I'm not even going to take them to the land of Israel. I promise I'm going to take them. I'm going to send an angel to go ahead to lead them to the land of Israel. But I'm fed up with them. I just gave them the Ten Commandments. The first of the Ten Commandments says, I'm your God, don't make me any other gods. And then you go ahead and just a month or a month and a half later, you go sin. I had enough of them. So that's what God said to Moshe. Now Moshe prayed and pleaded for God, prayed for God's mercy, and then he got the mercy. He got the Jews forgiven. But at one point in the story, Moshe came down the mountain and he said, he broke the luchot. Is there a word in English for luchot? The tablets, right? He broke the tablets, and he was upset. God was upset. And when he heard that God was kind of excommunicating the Jews, so Moshe said, you know what? If God's excommunicating, I also got excommunicated. Now at that point, his tent was close, nearby proximity to the Jewish people. So Moshe says, I got to stay away from you guys. I'm going to take my tent. And he went all the way to the other side, far away from everybody. And he put his tent there. He brought the broken pieces of the tablets he took with him over there. And he said, anyone who wants to learn the words of God, you come to me. I'm going to stay outside over here. And sure enough, many people wanted to hear the word of God, and people wanted to learn Torah at that time. The Torah was fresh, right? The Torah was just given. And Moshe used to teach them, and they would go into his tent. He would teach the elders. First he would teach his brother, his nephews. The elders came. There's a whole system how it worked. So this verse that tells us that the Jews that wanted to speak to find out God's word went to Moshe, that verse says, "V'hoya," this is in Exodus, "Kol mevakesh Hashem," anyone that wants to seek out God, Yetzei al Omer, he would go to Moses' tent. Whoever seeks the word of God. So Rabbi Yehuda, which is speaking now at the academy, the yeshiva, the vineyard, he says, we can take a lesson from this. If a Jew in the desert walked to Moshe's tent, how far was it? They make a calculation. At the most, it was 1 or 2 kilometers away. Not so far. Walkable. Right? Eliezer, 25-minute walk. 1 kilometer. 30-minute walk. And yet, what does the verse call these people that came all the way to Moshe's tent? The verse calls them Mevakshe Hashem, the seekers of God. It's a special title. Seek God. So how much more so these students that travel from city to city, Rabbi Yehuda says, and they want to learn Torah, and they brave the cold, they come out in the freezing weather, and it's windy outside, and they come to learn Torah. How much more so these people, you guys, we're called seekers of God. We are seeking to hear the words of God. So this is where Rabbi Yehuda opened up his talk, to giving honor to the Torah and honor to those learning Torah. Okay, so that's what we did last week. And now we're moving on.
This is Exodus 33:7?
Yeah, so that's what we just spoke about. So there was a distance of 12 miles. 12 miles was the furthest from the furthest Jew. Most of the Jews were closer. It's actually, mil is less than miles. It's probably less than miles. So if someone that went to go to Moshe, not such a large distance, the Torah calls him a seeker of God, so those that go from city to city, how much more so they are called seekers of God. Okay, so that was one piece. Now we're moving on to the next piece. The next verse afterwards, same place in Exodus, it says that God would speak to Moshe, panim el panim. Now, panim el panim literally means face to face. Now, we can't take this verse at this face level. We can't take this verse face to face at face level, because we know that God told Moses, you cannot see my face. God doesn't have a physical form. And even the spiritual form of God, whatever that is, the face part of it, God told Moses, you cannot see the face part of it. You only see the back side behind. Showed him the knot of tefillin. That was the most Moshe was able to see. So what does it mean when it says God spoke to Moshe, panim el panim, face to face? Right? What does that mean? And so he explains. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak. Yitzchak explains, what does it mean face to face? God was telling God was telling Moshe, Ani va'ata, me and you, we're gonna nazbir panim v'halacha. We're going to discuss and cheer each other up with the halacha by discussion. When we're going to discuss the Torah, me and you, our face is going to light up. Face lighting up means that we're going to be like joyful and cheerful. That's what it means face to face. We're going to be delighting or be delighted in the Torah. That's what it means when God told Moshe, we're going to speak face to face. Ikadamri, another way other people say, other rabbis they say, we could explain this face to face a little bit differently. God was telling Moshe, just like I revealed myself to you, and I'm at good terms with you right now, face to face. We're on we speak on eye level, like we're on good terms. It's also used in English, right? We speak face to face, meaning like we're on good terms. Is there a better word for that?
On good terms.
Good terms, yeah. We see eye to eye. Eye to eye. We see eye to eye, right? We're on good terms. So also, you go back to the Jewish people, and I want you to see eye to them too. I want you to put your tent back. God tells Moshe, move your tent back, close to where everyone else is. go back to the camp. And Rabbi Avahu says, furthermore, God was telling Moshe, what are people going to say? The Rav, the teacher, is angry. The student is angry. So if the God is the teacher, Moshe is the student. If the teacher's angry and the student's angry, Yisrael Matahei Aleim, what's going to be to the Jewish people? Who's going to be with them? So what will become of Israel? You got to go back. If you don't go back, God tells Moshe, if you don't go back, if you go back, good. V'im lav, if not, Yeshua bin Nun, this is Joshua, son of Nun, he's going to take over after you. He's going to take you over. So basically, you better go back.
Why? It's going to happen anyway.
And, so that's what he says. So that's what it says. Moshe went back to the camp, and right after it says, Yeshua was with him. And Rava says, like Eliezer just said, when God says something, even if he says it on a condition, if it's something good, then it's going to happen. Now, Joshua taking over Moshe is a good thing. Joshua's a special person, and he'll be a good leader. And sure enough, it came to pass. After Moshe passed away, Joshua took over.
Before he passed away.
Even before, right. So we see this idea of God promising something, even if it's on a condition, and the condition didn't happen, because Moshe, that he said, if you don't go back, Joshua will take you over. And he did go back. But still, the thing came to pass. So the commentators explain this idea of when a teacher is teaching, it's important that he shows his face to his students in a pleasant way, with a smile. This way, his students will be able to receive the information better, receive from here, what it means, eye to eye, being cheerful. And God tells Moshe, me and you, we can't be angry. If we're angry, the Jews won't be able to learn the Torah. Even though we're very upset at them, then they got in big trouble. It's a lesson for me, I'm a teacher. This is a big lesson. The kid messed up badly. He just blew up your biggest rule, and he just made a golden calf. But you still can't show your anger. You gotta suppress the anger. You gotta show a smile face, and you gotta put your tent back in them and say, no, we're moving forward. And if you don't show them this, their heart won't be able to be open to Torah. Okay, so now we're moving on to the next piece.
You're asking
Page 101.
The teacher to do this for every student in this class, right?
Right.
You're asking to do it for the simple students, for the hard to teach ones, for everybody. And that's very stressful on the rabbi. It's very stressful on the teacher.
Tell me about it.
Right? I mean, how do you do that?
It's hard.
How do you do that,
It's not easy. Okay, it's called siyata d'shmaya. You need help from above. God gives help. And keep on going. I'm doing it now 13 years. Every day. Full day.
Doing what every day?
Teaching.
What grade?
Fourth grade.
Fourth grade?
Yeah.
Oh.
9 to 4. Okay, so let's move on. Va'oid pasach Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda went ahead and said another thing in the honor of Torah. So now we're going back to Rabbi Yehuda. He's the one that started off this whole discussion. Now another thing he says. It says this is a verse in Devarim. How do you say Deuteronomy? Deuteronomy.
Deuteronomy.
Oh, Deuteronomy. Okay. It says in 27. It says Haskes Ushma Yisrael. Haskes means pay attention. Ushma Yisrael, and hear Israel. Hayom Hazeh, this day, Nihiyesa La'am. You have been made into a nation, people. To this day, you came into a nation. Rabbi Yehuda asked a question on this verse. V'chi oisi hayom nitna Torah Yisrael. Has it been only that day that they received the Torah and thus became into a nation? That day when Moshe was telling the Jewish people, pay attention, and today you're going to become into a nation, this was already at the end of Moshe's lifetime. The whole Deuteronomy was said at the end of conclusion of 40 years of being in the desert, and this was like a review of all the happenings in the first 4 books. Deuteronomy is a review. It's called Mishneh Torah, a review of the Torah, and it was said by Moshe. Moshe said it in first person. The rest of the Torah is written Moshe as a wrote it in third person. God spoke to Moses and said such and such. But the whole Deuteronomy is Moshe is writing in first person, and I stood there and God told me to tell you. So it's written in different. It's a different. The fifth book is different than the first four books, and it was said by Moshe. Most of it by the last few days, last few weeks, but it was all in the last year of being there. So what is the meaning? Rabbi Yehuda is asking, what's the meaning that he tells them, pay attention, Israel, today, Hayom Hazeh, today, you have made into a nation. It wasn't today, it was 40 years earlier when they got the Torah. That's when the Jewish people became a nation, at Mount Sinai. Ella, lelamdecha, this is to teach you, says Rabbi Yehuda, shechaviva Torah alim dea, b'chol yom v'yom, ki yom shenita mehar Sinai. When scholars learn Torah, they love it so much. The way they appreciate the Torah and the way they look at the Torah and the way they live with the Torah, it's as if it was given today, as if it was given today to the Jewish people, and therefore, today you got the Torah, and today you became a Jewish nation because you are looking at it with such excitement as if it's something brand new. So, this idea of looking at the Torah as something that's fresh and not something that's old, Rabbi Tanchum says, we find this also by Kriya Shema, the Shema prayer that we say. So over there also we say, we say, "Hear, O Israel, God is one, and you shall love God with b'chol levavcha, b'chol nafshach, with your whole heart, with your soul, with your might." And then the verse goes on to say, "V'hoyu advarim ha'ela." These words that these words that I'm saying now, that I'm commanding you today, it should be on your heart, and you should put it on tefillin. It says over there the words that I'm commanding you today. So every day when we pray, and we say Shema at least twice a day, once in the morning, it's a mitzvah from the Torah to say the Shema prayer twice a day. Once in the morning and once in the evening. And what do we say every day in the Shema prayer? That this is what I'm commanding you, and we say the word Hayom, today. So Rashi, the main commentary on the Torah, says that when you look at Shema, and really any part of Torah, don't look at it as old news or yesterday's story. Look at it as today's top stories, headlines of today. This is fresh. God just came over to you and commanded you and gave you the Torah. Wow, you should be excited. I got the Torah today. It's so special. That's the way we're supposed to look at the Torah.
Oh, it's like the guys here when they hear that the new episode of the weekly Sicha is up. You should
exactly.
It's uploaded every Wednesday night, and I came here this morning and they were like, really? Yeah.
Yep. So if someone said it has to be so fresh to the point that it says that if someone is going to say Shema every day of his life, one day he decides, I'm not in the mood today. Even by nighttime, he says one night he decides, I'm not in the mood of saying Shema today. It's so bad, it's as if he never said Shema his whole life. And that's a very powerful, scary statement. Like, everyone has their days, and everyone has their moments, and they're not in the mood. So why do you got to put down his whole life? He says as if he never said. So obviously, first of all, he's getting the mitzvah. And the commentaries have many pages of explanations. What does that mean? That doesn't count. But the main idea over here is, Torah has to be fresh. You have to get it today. And not just get it today. Constantly. So even though you said it this morning, you do it again by night, and you have to feel it fresh. And if you don't take upon that fresh commitment to Torah again, it's as if you never got it. Because it never clicked with you. If it would really click, then it's eternal. Because God's eternal, and His Torah is eternal, and our connection to God is also eternal. And there can't be any interruptions in that. Now, obviously, if someone was an accident, a mistake, or something happened, God understands, and we have to try our best. And no one should say, "Oh, if I can't be perfect, I'll do nothing." Like either all or nothing. That doesn't work that way with God. There's definitely not all or nothing with Him. There's a story about a someone that wasn't keeping Shabbat, and he came to a rabbi, and the rabbi told him, try. He said, I can't, it's impossible. And the rabbi told him, what do you do on Shabbat? You smoke? He says, I can't hold myself back from smoking. That's why he doesn't keep Shabbat. The rabbi told him, smoke 1 cigarette less. Now, is that called keeping Shabbat? No way, right? But it's a step.
Effort.
It's an effort. You're doing something. And sure enough, this person took 1 cigarette less, and then slowly but surely he was able to keep Shabbat all the way. But the idea is that God wants effort, and God wants us to try. It doesn't have to be all or nothing.
About percentages.
Right.
In Bitcoin.
In Tanya, he explains this concept of what happens if you miss Shema one time. If you miss the prayer of the Shema prayer one time. The way he explains it is that this is such a holy prayer, the Shema prayer, that we are unifying God's name. We are saying God's name is one. And a Jew has tremendous power, and when he says that God is one, it causes in heaven tremendous, like the angels are jumping in joy, and it creates tremendous and brings down tremendous light from God, from above, into this world and onto you every time you say the Shema prayer.
Yeah, but how come we don't feel it?
You don't feel it. Your soul feels it. And when Mashiach
He's
comes,
not
we're
talking
gonna.
to me.
You gotta tap in. He doesn't talk to me either, but we believe in it. And this tremendous light that is drawn down by us saying Shema, if you miss it, you miss that light. Now you could do it again tomorrow, but then it's already a different light. And that light that you could have brought down is gone forever. And that's what he's saying over here. If you miss it one time, it's as if you never did it, because you never got that light. Every day is another light of God, another revelation, and a different level. And that's why it's so important not to miss even one day. Just on a side note, there's different commandments in the morning that most religious Jews, they combine together, but it's really separate commandments. When we come to shul, to synagogue in the morning, so we come to pray, right? What are you doing? I want to pray. But bundled up in that prayer is a whole bunch of mitzvot. We have the mitzvah of putting on talit, or tzitzit, that's the strings, right? So that's a mitzvah. We have the mitzvah of tefillin, which is actually 2 mitzvahs. We have the hand, I know, but from the 613 it's counted as 2. So we have the hand tefillin and the head tefillin. That's another 2 mitzvot right there. Then we have saying the Shema. When we wear the tefillin, we say the Shema prayers. Like I said, it's a mitzvah twice a day to say Shema, once in the morning and once by night. So that's another mitzvah we do together. And then we have the mitzvah of prayer. We pray to God. These 5 mitzvot are usually done in one shot.
Also the mitzvah of brachas.
Not a mitzvah.
It is the 100 brachas a day.
I'm talking about the 6 mitzvahs on the list of 613. Saying
Pretty sure it's
no. Brachas are midrabanan. Anyway,
it's a Moshe Messiah.
the takana, it's not a commandment. All brachas are midrabanan, besides grace after meals is min Torah. The rabbis instituted the concept of making blessings is a rabbinic takana. I'm not undermining, God forbid. I'm just saying it's not part of the list of 613 mitzvot. And so we bundle up these 5 mitzvot together. If someone can't go to shul every morning for whatever reason, he should. But if he can't, then he still has those mitzvot as independent mitzvot. So a person could find time throughout the day to pray, or to put on tefillin and say the Shema prayer, or make a blessing on the tzitzit. These are all mitzvot that can be done independently without going to synagogue. Just a lot of people they think it's all or nothing. So I'm just letting you know that it's you could do them independently. Okay, let's move on. So that's one thing. Every day you have to take the Torah fresh. I just got it right now. Next. That same verse, we're going to do a couple more plays on the word haskes. The word haskes, which means pay attention. What does it say in English? Haskes? Maybe a different word. Be attentive. It's like the same thing as paying attention, right? Be attentive. So that word, haskes, be attentive, is spelled haskes. In Hebrew, it's hey, suf, kaf saf. Be attentive. Now we don't really find this word anywhere else in the Torah. It's like how unique for this verse. So we're going to do a few plays on the word haskes. The first play, I don't know if that's the right word to say, play. When you say like this word is similar to another word, is that called a play on the word?
Pun. A pun is a play on words.
Yeah, but that's like for a joke.
Right.
No, but I have it in like a serious way. Like you want to say, this word is similar to something else.
Synonym?
No.
So the synonym is they're placing one word with
Like a
another
play on
and
words.
it's
Is
the
there
same thing.
is that always for a joke, or it could be a serious
Play
thing?
on words.
The word haskes is similar to ace case. What's that? Is that a word for that? Whatever. Okay. Anyways, so we have this. There's a concept in Torah that when there's the simple meaning of the words, and there's explanations of the words, and then there's
Maybe a pun.
remez. Remez are like hints, and then there's soid, secrets. Those are 4 different elements of the Torah. So in the hint part of the Torah, there's something called gematria. Gematria is like numerical value. This word has the same numerical value as this. Then you have Rosh Tevos. The first letter of each word is the same as the first letter of
What's the Bible code.
Bible codes is all full of different codes that we have in the Torah. Some of them are made up and some of them are real. Right? Torah is full of codes. So one of the ways how you're able to make codes in Torah, which is brought down in the books, is that Hebrew letters that come from the same origin in the body could be intertwined, could be interchanged. So a hey is able to be switched with a ayin. Hey, the Hebrew letter hey, which is the 5th letter of the alphabet, is able to be switched with the letter ayin. Why? Because both of those letters, hey and ayin, are both throat letters. Hey and ayin come from the throat. Those two sounds, and both of them come from the throat. So they're able to be switched. Also, samach and sin, besides the fact that they sound similar, but they also both come from the teeth. S. Those sounds come from the teeth. So those letters also could be switched together. So if you take the word haskes, and you take the hey, switch it into ayin, and you put the samach and you switch it with a sin, that spells as, which is like make, do. So what they're teaching from this verse now is haskes, which means make groups. Case is a kitam, is a group. Make groups. And then Shema Yisrael, Israel will hear. What does that teach you? What does that teach us? When you're going to make groups and study with groups, Shema Yisrael, Israel will be able to hear. When you learn Torah with a group, as opposed to learning alone, privately, the learning will be far much greater and better. Okay?
Yeah, but Pirkei Avos covers that. It says like if 3 people.
Right. So there's a few reasons. We'll get to so soon. Yeah. Right.
1.
So we're gonna talk about the benefits of learning with a couple of people soon. I just want to move a little further along inside, and then we'll give the reasons what makes it special when you learn with a group. That's the next topic over here. So if you want to look into English, we're about halfway in page 101. You see where it says to be attentive in italics. Organize yourselves.
On the bottom it explains Haske.
Right. Oh, it says okay. So that we're right now by be attentive. Okay. So we say like this. When it says Haske, it says make study groups. When you're going to study Torah, it should be in groups. The only way a person could properly acquire the Torah is if you study with a chabura, with a group, with company, with someone else. Like Rabbi Yossi said, the son of Rabbi Chanina said, there was a verse in Jeremiah. It says, "Cherev el habadim v'nayalu cherev al saneh v'nayalu." What does that mean? There should be a sword on the badim. Well, who's the badim? Badim refers to the scholars that learn alone. A sword should be on the scholars that learn alone. This is harsh words. They study Torah all by themselves alone. There should be a sword in them. And, more than that, shemitapshin. They're foolish if they learn by themselves. And even more so, and he brings it first to show that they're foolish, and then they're also sinners. Like it says, Vasher Chotanu, they even are considered sinners. So on scholars that learn by themselves, we have over here that the sword should be on them, they're called foolish, and they're called sinners. So this is harsh words. So what is the benefit of learning with a group? So we'll start with what Eliezer mentioned before. When you learn with more people, you have more godliness in the room, because Jews, by being Jews, are holy. And we have a godly soul inside of us. Like I don't know if you started the Tanya yet, but that's all about the godly soul that's inside of us. And when two Jews meet, their godly souls connect. And now they have double power to accomplish. When you have the bigger the group, the more godliness that's in the room.
So it multiplies.
It multiplies. And when you get to 10, that's when you have a special level. When you have 10 people, that's why when you have a minyan, you want to say Kaddish, you want to pray, you need to have what's called a minyan in English, quorum. You need to have 10 people, because that's when a higher level of godliness is in the room, when you have 10 people are in the room. There's a special level of godliness. When you could learn in a group of 10, you have tremendous godliness in the room. Each one has this godly soul, plus you have the fact that there's 10 people together, it's tremendous power. Now, it doesn't mean only 10, even if you have, right now we have, somebody just came, so now we have 6. So we have also power. So what? He has a godly soul.
He came to learn.
Yeah, but the halach is only per mitzvah.
That's for a quorum, but for learning, even less. Okay, anyways, so when you have the Pirkei Avos that he mentioned before, it says 10 as one level, 5 is also, 3 is also something, and even one guy, it says in Pirkei Avos, he will also get a reward. It's better than nothing. But learning with a partner is much better, and to the extent it says if you learn by yourself, a sword should be on you. Which is a very harsh statement. So what is the benefit of learning with a partner, besides the fact that you have more godliness? You have a few practical benefits also. If you learn with a partner, or with a study group, one person makes a mistake, another person could correct him. One person doesn't know a word in English, he could ask people to help him, to give him all those translations. If you forget something, you forgot something that you learned a few weeks ago, remember we learned that? That only happens if you have somebody else in your group.
Nobody else here does that, Rabbi.
What? You remember things that we had?
Yeah.
So that's why you're a good asset of the class. You are a remembering guy. And also the verse said, everyone's important.
Oh, okay.
So it says haskes. Haskes, we said you should pay attention. Could you really pay attention and learn at the same time? A riddle. When could you pay attention and learn at the same time?
When you're watching a video.
When you're by a class.
Well.
Because you're by a class, you're listening, you're quiet, and so you can't make trouble in class, because then you're not being quiet. Only if you're quiet in class, then you could learn. Has.
We have risks the whole day.
Has case means be quiet, pay attention, and then you could learn. So if you're learning with a partner or in a study group, then you have this period of time where you're sitting quiet. With Yerushalayim 6. So another commentary explains that when you're learning with a group, everyone, this is a little deep. I'm not sure I got it myself, but I'm going to say it. Maybe I'll understand it when I say it. Everyone has intellect, right? Everyone's intellect is inside of them, so it's kind of constrained. It's like limited. It's limited to what his mind is able to use it. Now, the brain is actually tremendous power, like better than 1 million computers. The power of a brain, but when it's inside our brain, it's kind of limited. When you learn with Torah with someone else, so your intellect is now being exposed. You're opening up. So your seichel, your intellect is comes outside of you, becomes now external, and the power of it is able to be much more opened up. And when you have a few people, so all that intellect is especially if a couple of people working on a team, working on figuring something out, all that intellect is now being exposed, and it's much less constrained, much less limited. It's able to accomplish much more. One more thing about learning with a partner. We had in last week's Torah portion, Jacob came to get the blessing from his father Isaac. He wanted to first give it. He really was going to give it to Esau, but then Yaakov snuck in and he got the blessing. So in order to kind of trick his father that he's Esau, so he put on a goat skin on his hair, on his hands, and then this way Isaac was blind. So if he would touch him, he'll feel like he's Esau. So he comes in, and he brings the food. His father told Esau to bring food, so he brings the food instead. He says, "Here I am, I have the food for you. Please stand up." And Isaac says to him, "How did you come so fast?" He says, "Oh, God helped me out. I got the food." He says, then he suspected him right away. He's like, "Come over here, I want to touch you, I want to touch you, I want to feel you." So he comes closer and he feels him, and he says, "It's all hairy." He said, "It is Esau." So Isaac says, "Hakol kol Yaakov." The sound is the sound of Jacob, because you spoke refined. You said, "Please stand up," and you said, "God help me." He knew his son Esau doesn't speak like that. He was more rough, tough. "Get up." He came in. He says, "Dad, get up." He would never say, "God help me." So he said, the sound is the sound of Jacob, but the yadayim, the hands, are the hands of Esau. This was a story from last week's Torah portion. So we have over here, if you pay attention, it says, Hakol kol Yaakov. The sound is the sound of Jacob. When do you really have a sound of learning Torah? When you have two people. Kol. You have to have two people studying together with a voice. When you have two people studying Torah, that becomes the voice of Yaakov. Kol Yaakov. Yeah, his name is Yaakov. Okay. One more on that word haskes. One more thing. Dovber acher. We're towards the end of the page now. Another explanation. Something else. Haskes u'shma Yisrael. Kisesu atzmechem al divrei Torah. You have to expose yourself. You have to expose yourself to being smitten. How do you say the word? Smitten. Like no, smitten means like to get hit. To be
smote.
Right.
Smite.
So it's smiten.
Yes.
Smiten. Expose yourself to be smiten over the story of Torah. You have to be ready to get hit for the sake of Torah.
It's working already.
What?
You smoking.
So what does that mean?
What does that mean? Reish Lakish says the words of Torah is only going to be miskayim. Miskayim means going to be preserved. It's someone shemeimis atzmei elel. That somebody is like ready to die over the Torah. Now it doesn't mean literally dying for the Torah, but it means that a person has to kind of kill and get rid of all his bodily desires and all of his earthly needs, bad habits, and that will enables a person to preserve his Torah. You can't be sitting every day and going drinking and having steak and living a life of fun, and then open up your Gemara and start studying the Talmud. That's not study of Torah. That's not. You could study, but it's not going to be. The Torah is not going to be preserved. You have to be refined, and you have to be ready to be toil for the Torah. No, it means to take away from the pleasure.
Exactly.
Take away.
I think,
and also in those days, doesn't really apply these days, but in back in the day, people used to afflict themselves. They used to stay up very late by night learning Torah. They would eat very little. They would not care at all much about themselves, and their body would kind of wither away, so to speak. And this is what Reish Lakish says: if someone's living like that, Torah is going to be preserved more. However, the Rabbi teaches us that it's not for our times. Our times, we have to take care of our body, and we have to be healthy, and not to used to fast. There used to be this concept of fasting. They have some places in the world that they
Work,
still do
all
it.
day.
The people that they to hurt themselves. I don't know if this doesn't exist in the world also, but
India, I think.
they would roll in snow, in the cold and roll in the snow just to like kind of hurt themselves
Why? I don't understand.
because that would like
Sacrifice?
not sacrifice, but that would like kind of break their externals in. Make them more pure, but that's not done these days. The Rebbe says that we don't. Our generation is not.
Diogenes actually did this.
No, but I'm saying I'm talking about religious rabbis
he
used to
did
do
it.
it. It was a real thing. Yeah, this was a real
I
thing.
remember that.
It's called tainus, fasting, and sigufim.
I know
Sigufim
what
but sigufim is self-torture, not as want to hurt myself. God forbid. No, they're not coming from a bad place. These days is something called self-harm. That's a
These
sickness.
magazines never talk about the Torah diet.
So the self-harm that exists these days is completely something else. Over there, it was more to like break themselves, like to think less about themselves, to think more about God. So it was more of like a holy thing. But even that, in a holy way, the Rebbe says not to do it in our times.
What about cold showers?
For what purpose?
Isn't it the same thing?
Some people do that, in order to hurt them, in order to...
Right?
The difference between a cold shower and a freezing shower.
Okay, so we're going to stop over here.
We're already at the end of the page.
Yeah, we got to the end of the page, so we're going to stop. Oh, one more thing it says. We'll just do one more piece. Again, be quiet and listen, and then you'll learn. What does that teach you? A proper way. This is actually a very important lesson in general. And a style of learning. First, you listen. First, you hear. Get the subject. Understand it. Get it, and then delve into it. Then, like, analyze and ask questions and come up with answers. I tell my students all the time. As soon as I'm trying to teach for the first time a brand new thing, and right away everyone's coming up with their questions. No, that's not the right way to learn, because you didn't get it yet. You didn't understand it yet.
Digest it first.
First get it, digest it, haske. So first be quiet, means just listen and hear and understand it. And then kates. Kates can also mean break apart. Then you could break apart the subject and ask questions and come up with answers and pull it. But this thing is you get it right.
You got to reiterate that lesson for the Tuesday night class.
Tell him. Okay. Thank you very much.